1776. Just the year reminds us, as Americans, of what we used to speak of in hushed tones as children. Our founding fathers committed high treason when they signed the Declaration of Independence. They did what was considered wrong in order to do what they knew was right. These values they taught, this model they set, are the ideals with which rural electric cooperatives stand for. I'm here today on behalf of this, and I thank you all for this life-changing opportunity. When I was first selected to be part of the Iowa Youth Tour, I was overjoyed. Life had dealt me a hand, and it was my time to play. The countdown began, and soon I was amongst those who had the will to shape the future, like myself. Although I may have been slightly nervous, soon we were all exchanging Snapchats, Instagrams, and Twitter handles. For those of you over 40, those are called social media sites. I kid. But anyways, there was a bond between us all. All of our secluded little corners of Iowa came together to embrace a common background. Once that so slight barrier was broken down, we delved into the invaluable experience that was the Youth Tour. Standing below the Washington Monument, Lincoln and Jefferson memorials, in the White House truly put our thoughts about the Capitol into perspective. Looking down at the historic documents in the National Archives and just simply appreciating the fact that you get to stand there. In addition to the other countless experiences that we were allowed to go on, we were able to do it with great new friends. And we were there to strive to learn and experience our nation's history so that we may someday make it. Of all the trips that we were taken on for the Youth Tour, the one I was most excited for was the Capitol building, inside of which stands the National Statuary Hall collection, where each state sends 2 statues of their most accomplished members to be part of this room filled with greatness. I had been prepared by the time I arrived there to talk about one specific person, Norman Borlaug, one of the world's greatest humanitarians who had been credited for saving over 1 billion lives and who also happens to be born and raised in my hometown of Cresco, Iowa. I stared at the statue of the great man, whose ideals had been ingrained to me since I was but a kindergartner, and all I could do was smile. As I wrote this speech, I stumbled upon a quote of his that I couldn't leave out. He once said, "The destiny of world civilization depends upon providing a decent standard of living for all of mankind." Sounds similar to what you might hear from a leading member of an electric cooperative, don't you think? Today, many often wonder where our American values and ideals disappeared to while looking at the modern political landscape. Shootings and riots may come to mind. But I'm here to tell you that we need not look any farther for these values. They are embedded and intertwined into you, the electric cooperatives. Examples of this are everywhere. My local electric cooperative, Hawkeye REC, is going through a merger process with a Minnesota cooperative to create My Energy, spelled M-I, the M and the I standing for Minnesota and Iowa, 2 states commonly seen as border rivals. This is a part of the American and the electric cooperative model of coming together to grow and expand to provide the best possible services. Not only are mergers done for the betterment of the people, but also the people are allowed to choose whether they want it or not. Everybody counts equally, similar to a family. Everybody who needs, deserves, or wants to be a part of the electric cooperative family is welcomely invited. This applies to me too. You all made me part of your family, and I thank you. Further, almost every year, candidates from both major political parties come out with support and kind words for electric cooperatives. I mean, providing such a great service to the people and creating such an appealing rural America, how can they not? What I'm here to convey today is that I believe America should learn to model electric cooperatives. It should begin to start acting as though George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Ben Franklin were back at the helm, sending America on a track that so very resembles that of our electric cooperatives, because there's no other way more American than that. Even through the ever-changing world we live in, the ideals that stood strong in electric cooperatives need to be ideals that we fight for in our country today. I think I speak for my colleagues and all Americans when I say that we, the people of these United States, want the same ideas in all facets of society that we get from our electric cooperatives. So I say to you, let us all strive forward to undertake deeds that could be as great as the one that simple farmers undertook to put up electric poles that now power over 42 million people. In conclusion, I would like to thank Mr. Kelly Langrick, the teacher who inspired me to follow my dreams in speech, politics, and government. Thanks to Mrs. Shelley York and Mr. Pat Boyle for making the youth tour the great experience it undoubtedly is. Thank you to Hawkeye REC for sponsoring me on one of the greatest opportunities I've been able to experience in my life. I'd like to thank my Father in heaven for the chance to be here with you today. And finally, give yourselves a round of applause for still working and striving for something that our founding fathers would be proud of. Thank you.